Oh, thank you very much. You're so kind. Thank you all for being here, the kids and the parents and everyone. This is wonderful. Did you all have fun across the parking lot, building musical instruments and doing maps and everything? Everyone have fun? Yeah. So do you know what we're here to talk about today? Well, I'm going to tell you. It's a kind of music that started in a city called New Orleans. And did you guys find New Orleans on the map? Yeah, you know where New Orleans is. And the kind of music is called jazz. Have you ever heard of jazz before? Yes, so we were making some jazz right there, and that was a tune written by a very famous composer named Billy Strayhorn for a band by a very famous band leader, Duke Ellington. Anyone heard of Duke Ellington? Duke, just remember Duke. Okay, Duke. Yeah, that's the guy. It's about a train. That tune was called "Take the A Train." Did anyone hear the train? Cassie? Little train whistle, right? So the theme of this little thing is jazzing up the river, and we're going to get to that. You're probably wondering what some of these instruments are. Some of them, I'm sure you know, but we're going to have everyone explain their instruments very briefly to you. Starting with, you see this, what looks like a big violin back there? Does anyone know what that is? We're going to have Andy explain what his instrument is.
So this instrument is a big violin. It is actually in the violin family. It is called a double bass or a contrabass or a bass fiddle or an upright bass or a doghouse bass, stand-up bass. It's got lots of names. And it's the most important instrument in the band. Because it keeps the time and it plays the harmony, and without it, nothing else makes any sense.
Very good. Do you think this instrument plays high notes or low notes or somewhere in between? Play a couple notes, Andy. Yeah. High note or a low note? A low note. You know why it plays low notes? Because it's big. The bigger the instrument, the lower the notes plays. The smaller the instrument, the higher notes they play. So, I know you know what these are here. And this is Jason on the drums. Oh, Jason on this instrument he's going to describe.
Hi, everyone. I'm Jason, and I play the most important instrument in the band. This is the drum set. This instrument wasn't invented so much as it evolved. First you had people who played snare drum, like in marching bands or in the military, like for the Army. And then someone got the idea, well, what if I put the snare drum on a chair, and then I could play the bass drum and the snare drum at the same time? And then somebody had a great idea. What if we made a pedal on a spring, so that I could play the bass drum with my foot, and then I could play the snare drum with my sticks, with my hands. And then somebody invented, what if we could play some cymbals at the same time? So somebody invented a contraption, a pedal, where you could play two cymbals together with your foot. And then somebody had the idea, what if we took this, originally these cymbals were down near the ground, not down near the foot. So what if we made it so that we brought the cymbals up and we turned what was called a low boy into a hi-hat. So you could play the hi-hat with your sticks and your feet. And then drummers kept adding different instruments to it. They added tom-toms like this. They would add wood blocks and cowbells, and all kinds of cymbals. And eventually, by around the 1930s, the drum set had evolved into basically what it is today, which is a group of drums and cymbals and occasionally traps. And this instrument was invented essentially by a group of jazz musicians all wanting to play a bunch of instruments at the same time. It's an American instrument invented by jazz musicians.
There you go. What is this thing? Kevin, can you explain this? Because I don't even know what it is.
Well, my name is Kevin, and a lot of people come up to me and they say, I really like your xylophone. And it looks very much like a xylophone, and it's easy to remember because there's not very many words that begin with the letter X. So xylophone always shows up as one of the objects that begins with the letter X. However, this instrument begins with a V. It's called a vibraphone. Vibraphone. And some of you can probably see this little spinning mechanism here underneath the bars. And what it does is it gives the sound of the vibes a vibration, a vibrato. You hear the vibration? Yes, I can speed up the vibration, I can slow it down, or I can shut it off completely. So, and you probably can't see, this instrument also has a pedal on it, like pianos have a sustain pedal where you push down and you can have notes that ring for a long time. Or you can play very short notes. And you can see I play with mallets, which are kind of like drumsticks with soft ends on the end. It's like a combination of playing drums and piano at the same time, and I happen to play both drums and piano. So this instrument is like a nice cross between drums and piano. And the other thing you don't know is it's also the most important instrument in the band.
Darrell over here. This is Darrell. You know what he's playing.
Yeah, you guys know the name of this instrument over here? That's right, it's a piano, yeah. So piano is, Kevin, aside from being the most important instrument in the band, piano is unusual because it's also a percussion instrument. Most people don't think of piano as a percussion instrument, but it's a percussion instrument because when you play the keys, little hammers go up and strike the strings on the inside of the piano, and on a big piano like this, a grand piano, you can actually see the hammers hitting the strings, which is kind of fun to watch. And one of the interesting things about piano is that, and it's also one of the hard things about piano, is that you've got 10 fingers to play it, but they're 88 keys, and so you're badly outnumbered from the beginning. And so it takes some time to figure out which keys to play when with your 10 fingers. But it serves a few functions in the band. Most of the time it's serving the function of being a harmony instrument. So it's playing chords for the other instruments to improvise over in a jazz setting. But of course, you've probably heard classical music played on piano and pop and rock music played on piano. So it's used for many genres of music. But it also has, as Kevin was mentioning, it has some pedals underneath it. Those are, the keys and the pedals are really the things you use to play it. It's got a damper pedal or a sustain pedal like Kevin was talking about, and then a couple of other pedals that are not used as frequently. One of them makes the piano a little softer by moving the hammers so that they don't hit as many strings. And another one is a really weird one that can help you hold notes down when you want to do that without having to use your fingers. But anyway, but piano can serve many functions as sort of melody, harmony, and rhythm, and it's somewhat unique in that regard. You can see people leading a band with a piano and then also just being an accompanist with it. So that's the piano.
This is Cassie. Do you know what she's holding? Saxophone.
Hey, guys. Okay, so the first thing you need to know is really, and if you ask any saxophone player, they'll tell you that this is the most important instrument in the band. Ask any of us, it's true. The saxophone is a member of what's called the woodwind family. It looks a little bit, in terms of shininess and color, like what Dave's trumpet here, but it's not a brass instrument. What makes it different? It is made of brass, but it has I can't show you very well, it's got a little wooden piece called a reed. And when you blow into the mouthpiece, it vibrates. If you know what a clarinet is, it works kind of the same way. So member of the woodwind family. On the saxophone, unlike the piano and the vibraphone and even the bass, you can only play one note at a time. So it tends to be another instrument that plays the melody, which would be the part that you sing. Let's see, interesting fact, it's probably one of the newer instruments as far as instruments go. It's maybe about 250 years old. Some instruments go way back, so this is probably a little newer. And just there's a bunch of different types of saxophones. This is an alto. There's a smaller saxophone called a soprano, and even smaller than that. The cool thing, the biggest saxophone they make is like over 6 feet tall. So think of your average basketball player. It's about the size of that guy. So anyway.
That's the saxophone. Can you help me put this?
Absolutely.
Okay. What is this? A trumpet. Here's the thing about the trumpet. It's not only the most important instrument in this band, it's the most important instrument at the horse races. Other instruments can imitate a horse. So that's all of our instruments. We're going to put them together, and we're going to have you guys participate in this next tune. We're going to also have Jamaica. Would you come up here for us? This is Jamaica. She plays the most important instrument in the band because she's the only one that uses words. We're going to have you guys all stand up. Yeah. We're going to have you sing along with us, and we're going to have you clap. So what we're going to do is we're going to have the band start, and I'll show you how to clap. We clap only on certain times. So let's just do a little bit of this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. That is it. Now what we're also going to have you tune, this is a little tune called Jazzin' Up the River. Jazz started in a lot of places, but mainly in this town, New Orleans. And they had these big boats that went up the river. They were called showboats, and the whole side of this boat opened up, and they had concerts and shows on the shore for people in every town along the Mississippi River, the Ohio River, the Illinois River, and jazz kind of spread. All these cities that you marked on your maps. And we're going to sing a little tune about this. And as we sing Jazzin' Up the River, Jamaica will sing that. We want you to repeat it back. Jazzin' up the river. And I'll lead you through it. And we'll kind of do this together. And we'll talk about some of the towns jazz went through. So, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Jazzin' up the river,
Jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river towards New Orleans. Jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river from New Orleans.
We're covering towns from the map.
Stopping in St. Louis,
Yeah.
off to Kansas City, Davenport, Peoria, and on to Chicago with all them blues. Jazzin' up the river,
Jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river,
jazzin' up the river.
jazzin' up the river from New Orleans.
Play the piano, Darrell. That's Cassie on the saxophone. This is Darrell on the piano. Snap your fingers. Here we go. Stomp your feet. Here we go. Darrell on the piano. This is Kevin playing the vibraphone.
Jazzin' up the river, jazzin' up the river, jazzin' up the river from New Orleans. Jazzin' up the river, jazzin' up the river, jazzin' up the river from New Orleans. Jazzin' up the river. Port, Peoria, up to Chicago with all them blues. I'm traveling up the river, jazzing up the river, jazzing up the river from New Orleans. Oh, I'm jazzing up the river from New Orleans. I'm jazzing up the river from New Orleans. Yeah. Good job, guys.
Thank you, Jamaica. So what's the most important instrument in the band? Actually, the thing about any music, and especially jazz, is all the instruments are equally important because what we're doing is, as you can hear, we're expressing ourselves, our own individuality, but we're also blending with each other, and that's what creates good music. So each instrument, although we were joking with you here, each instrument is equally important except for the trumpet, you know. No, any instrument's equally important. Has anyone ever heard of the blues? You guys know the blues? Well, the blues started out basically in the South, around the same area, in Louisiana, Georgia, Alabama. And it started as slaves working in the fields would have to sing. Otherwise, their life would become unbearable. So they used music to help them survive a terrible life they had, picking cotton and all of this stuff. And the blues, if you're feeling sad, you can express that. If you're feeling happy, you can express that. Music can express anything you want. So we're going to have Jamaica sing a blues. And if you want, you can take your percussion instruments. Everyone have your shakers? Let's hear them. Oh, yeah, yeah. So anytime you feel like it, and I'll kind of show you how to do it. We want to do it with the beat, but that's good. So as she starts singing, I'll get you guys doing that. But this is Jamaica singing a blues called
Feeling All Right.
Feeling All Right. Well, that expresses some good stuff, doesn't it? So here's Jamaica. Did everyone like the blues? Did it make you feel good? Yeah, that's what we want. Well, we're going to do something a little different here. And we're going to do He Beeped When He Should Have Bopped. So jazz traveled up the rivers, New Orleans, Memphis, Kansas City, St. Louis, Davenport, Peoria, Chicago. Then some people hopped on a train, and they went up to New York City. And New York City created a lot of different things, but especially their own special kind of jazz. And these musicians, like most musicians, were different. And they wanted to be different, and they made special efforts to be different. For instance, you hand me my hat and my glasses. They wanted to wear different hats, so they went to France or Greenwich Village and bought themselves some hats no one else in New York was wearing, like this, and they had their shades. And they put the shades on. That made them real hip, right? Hip is a word for good. Now, there's a word for not so good and kind of boring, and that's square. And so they wanted to not be square. Instead, they wanted to be hip. So what are you guys going to be? You guys going to be square? No. You're going to be hip? Well, then I'm going to tell you about bebop. Bebop, special kind of jazz, was named bebop because that's how it sounds. Bebop. Try it. Bebop. 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 So stand up again. We're going to play a little game. You guys are going to be tired when you're done. I want to talk about 3 bebop musicians that were very important. One was named Charlie Parker, but his nickname was Bird. One was named Dizzy Gillespie. His nickname was Dizzy. One was Thelonious Monk. People just called him Monk. So, the way to remember these guys is Bird, Dizzy, Monk. Ready? Let's do it. Bird, Dizzy, Monk. Dizzy, Monk. Bird, Dizzy, Monk. So who are the 3 famous bebop musicians? Bird, Dizzy, Monk. So Dizzy wrote a little tune about bebop, and I'm going to relate that to you here. You guys can sit down now. Guys can always clap like this anytime you want. Here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there was this musician. We call them cats. But they're not really cats, they're people. And a cat is someone that is hip, not square. But this guy, he couldn't quite get it right. You know, no matter how much he tried, Dizzy had to tell him what to do. And what he had to do was bop. But he was beeping. And beeping's bad. Beeping's square. Bopping's hip. So here's how Dizzy told him what to do. Here we go. 1, 2, 1. I knew a guy who had some brand new tricks. Played his horn with a crazy kick. The thing that made him such a flop was he beeped when he should have bopped. The same old square came up upon the stand, but he really couldn't dig the band. He thought he was the cream of the crop, but he beeped when he should have bopped. All the cats gathered round just to see what he was trying to prove. but anyone could plainly see that he was dragging them out of the groove. At last the leader turned around and said, "Oh, listen, Pops, you had better stop." There he goes, he done it again. Well, he beeped when he should have bopped. Kevin, play some bebop for us. Bebop da doo, not beep but bop doo ba da doo ba doo ba doo bop. Bebop doo doo da bebop da doo doo da 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 doo doo da doo da. Well, all the cats gathered round just to see what he was trying to prove, but anyone could plainly hear that he was dragging them out of the groove. At last the leader turned around and said, "Ah, listen, Pops, you had better stop." There he goes, he did it again. Well, he beeped when he should have bopped. Well, he beeped when he should have bopped. Well, he beeped when he should have bopped. So you guys gonna beep? No, you gonna bop. Bebop. One more time. Bebop. Very good. So, Jazz went to New York. Then Jazz got on a big boat, bigger than the river boats, or an airplane, and it flew over to places like Brazil and Puerto Rico and Cuba. And the people in Cuba had their own rhythms and their own time and their own sense of music, but they loved jazz. So again, they combined their music with jazz to create their own kind of jazz. We're going to do a very old Cuban tune called The Peanut Vendor, which is, you can imagine someone just go on the streets selling peanuts, saying, "Peanuts, peanuts, ba-ba-do-dee-do-do-da-da-da-da-da, bo-da-do-do-dee-do-dee-do-dee-do." So listen for that in this tune called The Peanut Vendor. Now you can take your shakers, and this is a great tune to play your shakers on, so be sure to do that. This is The Peanut Vendor. Gum, boom. 1, 2, 3, 4. they had another rhythm in Cuba, and it's called the clave. And the clave goes like this. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 1, 2. We're going to have Jason play a little drum set, and you keep the clave going for him. Peanuts, peanuts, doodle doodle doo da da, doodle doo da 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 doo da, ba da da doo da doo da, ba da da doo da doo da, ba da da doo da doo da doo da. Da 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 da. Do 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 do. Bo da 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 do. Peanuts. Peanuts. So have you all learned a little bit about jazz? Yeah? Who are the three bebop cats? Bird, Dizzy, Monk. All right. Where'd jazz start? New Orleans. It moved everywhere, right? How'd it move? Up the river, trains, airplanes, spaceships? No, not spaceships, right? Not yet. Right? So we have one more thing to do with you, but before that, Pastor Denise has a little something to say. So this is Pastor Denise.
After this concert here, you will go back to the building across the way where you made your instruments, and we'll have a special refreshments today. You'll get to jazz up some cupcakes and have some jazzy punch. And again, thank you for coming. It was so great to meet all of you. And when you go across the way here for refreshments, you will also pick up your pictures taken earlier.
Thank you. Let's give a big hand to Pastor Denise for putting this on for us. So I am taking you back to where it all started, to New Orleans. Now, once we start playing this tune, Cassie on the saxophone, at a certain point, is going to start going down the aisle. And what we want you to do is do your own parade here. And parades are very important in New Orleans. They happen all the time. And they especially happen, for parties and at funeral services. When someone dies, they will do a hymn real slow, going to the cemetery. And they'll have a band, and they have people operating, and it'll be something you know, and it will sound a little like this. Coming back, it was a party. It was a celebration of someone's life. So they'd pick up the speed, and they'd have a parade through the streets of New Orleans, celebrating like they do so well. They'd jazz up that waltz, and they'd do it like this. So remember, you're going to follow Cassie over to have some snacks. So here we go. 1, 2, 1, 2, 3.